Breakaway has released to mostly well reception, and Pizza Tower's Noise update has released to almost no one realizing it exists. Which is a real shame, since both of these games really should have stolen the spotlight recently. And while I could say that this only shows how many great games have been released lately, making it hard for every game to stand out, my computer probably can't run those games, so this is a crime of the highest order. And while I can excuse arson, this is on a whole nother level. Almost on the same floor as loitering or jaywalking. And y'all saw the title. I'm gonna give you the good, the bad, and the surprisingly hot to figure out which game is better. And while you could say that that's a subjective matter, others will read your comment in utter silence, while I can say, dark chocolate is 10 times better than milk, with the MDS2 thing blaring in the background, and suddenly I'm the most qualified person in the room. I don't have a translation for art and animation, so, here's footage of Penny riding her yo-yo like a Segway. One thing I said about Mario Wonder was that while its art style was very visually appealing, it didn't really do a good job of matching the rest of the game's tone. But this time, Pizza Tower and Penny's Big Breakaway both do an excellent job of capturing their game's atmosphere with their art style. The new Pizza Tower animations and pixel art are as expressive as ever, so there's not really much to cover that I didn't in the last video. But Penny's Big Breakaway's art direction is really fascinating to me. When most people think about oversimplification, what comes to mind is the death of rational political discourse, but to Evening Star, immense possibilities. At first, I thought that a more simplified art direction wouldn't go well with a high-energy platformer, but as time went on, it clicked. Penny's art style works due to several reasons. In momentum-based platformers where you want your character to go super fast, key poses and silhouettes are going to draw most of the focus. So what I'm basically trying to say is that the art style means I can freaking see what's happening. I can always tell where Penny is, where her yo-yo is, and the parts of the level I can interact with. The clarity allows for what could be visually overwhelming or distracting situations to be maneuvered through with ease, which allows the gameplay to feel even smoother. But even further than this, simpler models and simpler textures means more processing power for better rigs, and better rigs means more expressions, and more expressions means more dopamine, and more dopamine means less buyer's remorse. It's just basic economics. And finally, the simple art direction makes the switch from 2D to 3D a lot easier to swallow. Like imagine in Elden Ring, if you walk through a fog gate and suddenly... Stinky virgin ain't got no ring. Boy thinks he's a Sigma, but really you tripping no cap. That would be strange. But in Penny's Big Breakaway, it just works. At least visually. Animation-wise, it's got some problems. In Pizza Tower, the noise I'm playing as feels like the same noise in the TV, who also feels like the same noise in the boss fight,
and so on and so forth.
But Penny throughout the game feels strangely inconsistent. In her 2D form, the animation really accentuates Penny's determination and caring characteristics. But in the 3D cutscenes, her zaniness and excitable traits stand out far more, and it's like, why can't we have both? There's even a disconnect during gameplay. Penny will be walking all chill, or happily rolling around, and maybe even worriedly sprinting away from enemies. But then her profile picture will be all like... And while I attribute this disconnect to the game's animation, it could also be argued that this is a result of the game's... I'm gonna keep this section short, because like last time, there's not too much to say. Contrary to what certain marketing would have you believe, this is not a very story-focused game. Penny breaks away from her totalitarian society after being sentenced to 10,000 years in jail due to second-degree unpantsing, and is only welcomed back after committing trespassing, breaking and entering, assault and battery, and theft by finding. Again, it's just basic economics. Though, while this game's story is nothing to awe over, I think it actually revolves around a really nice theme and message, which is that art is not just graphite on paper or paint on a canvas. It's an expression of the soul, of love, of passion. The three main characters of the game are a wrestler, a puppeteer, and a yo-yo girl, all artists. The game shows even things such as science and sailing can be an art form. It's a game that shows that anyone can be an artist. While the noise update can be easily summarized with... Special technique.
Legalize nuclear bombs.
Breakaway has some of the most unique movement out of any 3D platformer I have ever played, and the noise update reiterates on one of the best 2D platforming formulas on the market. But because these games are in two different genres, it would be hard to compare the two without shitting all over a game that blends both. And unfortunately, Sonic Colors is right there. But thankfully, I don't have time to rig up a Sonic model, and I'll be extremely lucky if this video gets more than 3 comments. So while Sonic is fast, the consequences of my actions are slow, and I'm willing to run that extra mile for ease of comparison. When Sonic runs into a wall in this game, it feels like trash, and for the longest time, I thought that was due to you losing all your momentum. But running into a wall in Pizza Tower doesn't feel nearly as bad, and I think that's due to player agency and cognitive dissonance. When Sonic stops, there is no animation or screen shake, meaning that it takes your brain a second to fully realize that you've hit a wall and stopped. Furthermore, the game gives you control back right away after coming into contact with the wall, and this mixed with the cognitive dissonance created by the sudden stop makes adjusting to Sonic's new movement feel very awkward. All of these things come together to make Sonic feel very choppy or robotic after losing momentum. But as someone who has a lot of experience talking to brick walls, watching the noise run into one at 60 miles per hour just feels so much more cathartic. When Peppino or the noise hits a wall, the animation, the hit stun, and the screen shake make the crash abundantly clear. Complementing this is also the strategic removal of agency right after Peppino or the noise contacts the wall. This allows not only the developers to move your character back, giving you more room to get going, but it also allows your brain a moment to reevaluate the situation and adapt to your new momentum. Peppino's and the noise's movement options also allow for a greater amount of improvisation when traversing the X and the Z-axis. The greater room for improvisation is also a strength of Penny's Big Breakaway. 3D Sonic can oftentimes just feel like the world's biggest temple run, with there being a single path you can take that requires you to duck, swerve, and jump at specific times. And every time a Sonic the Hedgehog goes out of bounds, an epileptic angel dies. Donate now to learn more. But not only does Penny's level design allow for more flexibility and feel more dynamic, going out of bounds is almost the core game mechanic. Because the farther you fall, the further you swing, allowing every level to become a daring act inches above death. And you've seen the gameplay in other reviews. You don't need me to reiterate that the movement in these games are amazing. And while I could leave it at that, it would be disingenuous to not address the noise. You can sit this one out, because while I don't think every Sonic dev is cursed to make glitchy 3D games, I think a Minecraft bug might have been applied to their debuggers. And unfortunately, Penny's Big Breakaway is no different. But I will say, the severity of the game's glitches can be a bit overblown. Like, yeah, there's this, and this, and this, but nothing that really ruins the game or can't be... What?
Hey guys, my name's Sonic the Hedgehog. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation in the first place.
So in my opinion, the worst part of this game is that the penguins do more damage to my frame rate than to Penny. Zooming around exciting levels is fun. Mowing the lawn at 10 FPS is not. So despite Penny's Big Breakaway being an 8.5 out of 10, I'm going to have to once again give it the Pizza Tower. No gun held to the back of my head required. I said I don't need a gun held to the back of my head. I know. I'm just holding you for ransom. Why? Oh, honey. It's just basic economics. You really needed to complete the rule of 3, didn't you?